The scar burns before storms come to the mountains. 40 years later, I still feel it. Not memory, but actual heat radiating from the symbol carved into my chest in October 1983. My name is Nikolai Petrov, and I am the last person alive who was marked by the guardians of Kangchenjunga. I was 29 when it happened, a Soviet climber on an international expedition attempting a new route on the North Face. Our team was small. Myself, a German named Klaus Fischer, a Canadian woman named Margaret Hill, and two Sherpa brothers, Karma and Lobsang. We had 3 weeks of good weather predicted, modern equipment, and enough arrogance to believe the mountain would yield to our ambition. We established base camp at 16,000 feet in early October. The Sherpas were uneasy from the start. Karma found symbols carved in ice near Camp 1, deliberate patterns too precise to be natural. Old warnings, he said. This place is watched. We should leave offerings. Klaus laughed. Superstition won't get us to the summit. But I grew up in the Caucasus, where old people still spoke of creatures in the high places, beings neither animal nor human. My grandmother's stories of the Almas had always seemed like fairy tales until I saw Karma's face when he looked at those symbols. Fear born from knowledge, not ignorance. The storm hit us at Camp 2, 22,000 feet. It came without warning, transforming clear skies into chaos in minutes. We secured ourselves in the tents, but the wind was catastrophic, gusts strong enough to tear equipment away, cold enough to freeze exposed flesh in seconds. When it cleared 18 hours later, the route we had established was buried under 4 feet of fresh snow. Klaus wanted to continue. Margaret and I voted to descend. The mountain had spoken. We were roped together during the descent, Klaus leading, then Margaret, then me, with Karma and Lobsang behind. I felt the snow shift beneath my feet a moment before Klaus stepped forward. Wait, I started to say. The slope collapsed. All 5 of us tumbled through the avalanche, bodies ragdolling through suffocating whiteness. I remember falling, remember the terror of not knowing which direction was up, remember the impact that drove the air from my lungs. Then darkness. I woke buried in snow, wedged in a crevasse with my right leg pinned between ice and rock. My headlamp was gone, my radio crushed, my ice axe torn away. Above me was solid snow. Below me was darkness. Around me was the terrible silence of being buried alive. I had perhaps 6 hours before hypothermia would kill me. My training said to stay calm, conserve heat, think. But my body wanted to panic, to struggle, to exhaust itself fighting the inevitable. That's when I heard it. Not a sound, but a vibration through the ice, rhythmic and deliberate. Something large was moving nearby, and it was moving toward me. The ice near my head shifted. Fresh air touched my face. Impossible, beautiful, terrifying air. Then a hand appeared, too large, covered in white fur, with fingers ending in dark nails. Not human. The hand grasped my jacket and pulled. My pinned leg came free with pain that made me scream. I was dragged upward through a tunnel that shouldn't exist, scraping against ice until suddenly I was out, lying under stars, staring up at something that couldn't be real. 9 feet tall, covered in pale fur that seemed to glow in starlight. A face that was both human and not, flat nose, heavy brow, and eyes that reflected light with amber intensity. Intelligence looked back at me, unmistakable and profound. Nikolai has been saved by something impossible, but this is only the beginning of 3 days that will mark him forever. Subscribe to discover the truth waiting in the cave. The creature examined my injuries with surprising gentleness, then picked me up as easily as I might carry a child. We traveled through the night across terrain that should have killed me, moving with absolute sureness toward a destination I couldn't see. Dawn revealed a cave entrance hidden behind ice formations. The creature carried me inside, into warmth that seemed impossible at this altitude. It laid me on dried grasses and furs, then brought water in a carved wooden bowl and bitter tea that spread heat through my frozen body. I slept, waking to find my legs splinted with branches and hide, my wet clothes replaced with furs. The creature sat across the cave, watching with patient intelligence, not waiting to eat me, waiting for me to understand. The cave was inhabited, tools stored food, symbols carved into walls with obvious meaning. This wasn't a monster's lair. This was a home, and I was a guest. The creature cared for me with competence that suggested medical knowledge. It brought food, roots, dried meat, that medicinal tea, and checked my injuries twice daily. It never spoke in any language I recognized, but it communicated through gesture and sound, through meanings that transcended words. On the second day, it brought a flat piece of slate carved with symbols. The same pattern Karma had found at Camp 1, a spiral surrounded by radiating lines. The creature pointed at the symbol, then at markings on the cave walls, then at me, trying to convey something crucial. I traced the pattern with my fingers, studying it. The spiral was deepest, carved with care. Around it were marks that could represent mountains or beings or connections between them, but I couldn't understand what it meant. The creature placed one massive hand on my chest, directly over my heart. I felt heat radiating from its palm, felt a strange tingling that spread through my body. When it removed its hand, my shirt was burned away in a perfect handprint, and in the center, burned into my flesh, was the symbol. The spiral, the radiating lines, perfectly replicated on my skin in marks that glowed red before fading to white scar tissue. I touched it in shock. "What have you done?" The creature stepped back, watching my reaction with those intelligent eyes. This was intentional, deliberate, a marking that meant something I didn't yet comprehend. Over the following days, it taught me, without words, how to read weather in subtle changes of snow and wind, how to find water in frozen landscapes, how to move across dangerous terrain with minimal risk. But more than skills, it taught patience, the ability to exist in silence, to observe without judging, to be rather than constantly do. On the fourth day, it led me deeper into the cave system, down through passages that grew warmer until we reached a chamber heated by geothermal vents. And there I found artifacts, carved slates, sophisticated tools, and most striking, what looked like books. Collections of thin bark marked with symbols, organized like records or histories. The creature showed me images, drawings of mountains, of its species, of humans in ancient clothing. They had been watching us for centuries, documenting our presence, choosing to remain hidden. This wasn't just survival. This was strategy. One image stopped me cold. Humans with weapons attacking the creatures, fire and violence captured in simple strokes. And the creatures retreating, fleeing higher, their numbers diminishing. This was a history of persecution, documentation of genocide that had driven a species to the edge. The creature made a mournful sound and gestured at the images, then at itself. Asterisk, we remember. We are survivors. We hide because we must. Asterisk. That night, sitting by the geothermal vents with the creature watching over me, I understood. It had marked me not randomly, but deliberately. I had been evaluated, tested, chosen to carry knowledge forward. The symbol on my chest was a covenant I had entered without fully understanding its terms. My leg healed faster than seemed possible, the creature's medicine and care producing results that defied my medical training. By the fifth day, I could walk using a staff it had carved specifically for my height. The creature led me to the cave entrance and pointed toward distant peaks. Through gesture and that strange warmth-based communication through the symbol, it made clear I had a choice. Leave now, return to my team, carry the mark and the knowledge, or stay longer, learn more, become something more than a simple survivor. I should have chosen to leave. I had teammates searching, a career waiting, a life in the Soviet Union that demanded my return. But standing at that threshold, looking at the creature that had saved me, I felt the pull of something more important than any summit. I stayed, not from obligation, but from choice, from understanding that this opportunity came once in a lifetime. The teaching intensified. The creature took me to different chambers, each revealing new knowledge. Astronomical observations mapped with precision across centuries. Medical diagrams showing healing techniques unknown to modern science. And always the symbols, encoding information in patterns I was slowly learning to read. But the most profound teaching came through direct contact. The creature would place its hand on the symbol, and knowledge would transfer into my consciousness. Not words, but understanding. The history of its species, their retreat into higher altitudes, their choice to preserve themselves through invisibility rather than confrontation. I learned why I had been marked. The species was dying, their numbers down to perhaps a dozen across the entire range. They needed witnesses, people who would carry their knowledge forward, who would remember them when they were gone. I had been chosen because they believed I would honor that trust. The weight of an entire species' memory now rests on Nikolai's shoulders. What happens when he must choose between science and silence? Continue reading to witness the impossible choice ***. On the 7th morning, the creature prepared a pack with food and supplies. My leg was strong enough for descent. The weather was stable. It was time to return. We stood together at the cave entrance. The creature placed both hands on my shoulders and looked into my eyes with intensity that seemed to see through to my soul. Then it spoke, shaping sounds its mouth wasn't designed for. Remember, tell, protect. The words were barely recognizable, but the meaning was crystal clear. I nodded, tears freezing on my face, understanding the magnitude of what I was being asked to do. The creature stepped back into shadow, and I began my descent alone. My team found me 2 days later, alive against all probability. Klaus wept and apologized for his impatience. Margaret stared in disbelief. Karma and Lobsang looked at me with knowing eyes, seeing something in my face that the others missed. I told them I'd been trapped in a crevasse, managed to free myself, found shelter. The story satisfied no one, but couldn't be disproved. The real questions came when they saw the symbol on my chest. Lobsang saw it first when I changed shirts in the tent. His eyes went wide, his hand moving in a warding gesture. "The mark," he whispered. "The Guardian's mark. You were chosen." Karma questioned him rapidly in their language. Then he turned to me. "What did you see, Nikolai? What happened in the places we cannot go?" I wanted to tell them everything, but I remembered the creature's words. Remember, tell, protect. Telling meant choosing carefully, revealing enough to honor truth without endangering what remained hidden. "I saw something that saved my life," I said slowly. "Something that asked me to remember. That's all I can say." The Soviet authorities were less understanding when we returned to Moscow. I was debriefed extensively, my story examined by intelligence officers suspicious of everything. The symbol fascinated them. Medical examinations confirmed it was a burn, but couldn't explain the pattern or the precision. When I refused to elaborate, they detained me for 2 weeks of interrogation that tested my resolve. But I held to my story. Eventually, they released me, marking my file as unreliable, ending my international climbing career, but allowing me to continue working domestically. My career was over, but I felt only relief. The mountains had given me something more important than any summit, knowledge that demanded protection, a responsibility that transcended nationalism or personal ambition. I began studying everything I could find: anthropology, mythology, consciousness research. I connected patterns across cultures, suggesting the creature's species had existed far longer than modern humans acknowledged. And the symbol burned constantly, warming my chest in patterns that seemed to carry information I couldn't fully decode. Years passed. The Soviet Union collapsed. Borders opened. In 1998, I returned to Kanchenjunga, searching for the cave, hoping to find the creature or learn what had happened. I found evidence instead: a violated sanctuary, artifacts stolen, the sacred space ransacked by treasure hunters or researchers who didn't understand what they were destroying. And I felt through the symbol profound grief, the creature's pain transmitted across distance. I searched for weeks but never found it. The cave was either concealed or destroyed. The creature was gone, possibly dead, its species closer to extinction. My promise to protect had been tested and found wanting. But in 2003, I found others like me. Dr. Elena Sokolova, an anthropologist who had been marked during research in the Caucasus. Martin Cruz, a climber marked in the Andes. We compared symbols, shared experiences, realized we were part of a pattern. The creatures had been marking humans across mountain ranges, choosing witnesses to carry knowledge forward. We formed a network, carefully vetting members, eventually numbering 23 marked individuals across 6 countries. We documented, preserved, protected, and we discovered something extraordinary. When multiple marked people meditated together, our symbols synchronized, creating collective consciousness that revealed the creature's true legacy. They hadn't just given us knowledge. They had planted seeds of transformation in our consciousness, changes that would spread across generations, making humans more like them in awareness, if not in form. We weren't just witnesses. We were the hybrid future where their wisdom would live on. I am 69 years old now, writing this in 2023. The mark has been with me for 40 years, a constant reminder of the covenant I entered in that cave. The creature that marked me is likely dead, its species functionally extinct. But the knowledge persists in those of us who were marked, in the slow transformation of human consciousness that will take generations to fully manifest. I kept my promise. I remembered. I told what could be told. I protected what needed protection. The symbol on my chest proves it. My credential, my burden, my pride. It marks me as someone who stood at the threshold between species, who was trusted with secrets that transcended individual survival. The mountains still hold mysteries. Perhaps a few creatures remain in the remotest valleys, their existence unknown, their future uncertain. But their legacy lives on in us, the marked ones, carrying their wisdom forward, becoming the bridge between what was and what will be. When storms approach the mountains, my mark burns with patterns that connect me to others in the network, to knowledge planted 40 years ago, to transformation already underway. I am not alone. I am part of something vast and patient, a strategy measured in centuries, a gift that ensures the creature's extinction is not an ending, but a transformation. This is my testimony. The mark on my chest is my proof. And until my last breath, I will honor the trust placed in me by a being that saw potential in humanity we rarely see in ourselves. The network of marked individuals grew slowly over the decades. By 2010, we numbered 31 people across 5 continents, each carrying variations of the symbol, each with stories of encounters that had transformed their understanding of reality. We communicated through encrypted channels, met in remote locations, and shared knowledge that mainstream science refused to acknowledge. The symbol on my chest became more active as I aged, burning with increasing frequency and complexity. In 2011, during a gathering of marked individuals in the Austrian Alps, something extraordinary happened. 23 of us meditated together, and our symbols synchronized, pulsing in rhythm, creating patterns none of us controlled. For 5 minutes, we experienced collective consciousness. Our individual minds connected, boundaries dissolving, sharing thoughts and memories without words. And beneath our collective awareness, we felt something vast and ancient, perhaps the sum of all creatures past and present, or consciousness inherent in the mountains themselves. The experience revealed the creatures' true strategy. They hadn't just preserved knowledge, they had seeded humanity with transformation. The marks were changing us gradually, making our consciousness more like theirs, more interconnected, more aware, fundamentally different from unaltered humans. Over generations, these changes would spread, creating humans capable of telepathy, expanded perception, deeper understanding of reality's interconnected nature. We were not just witnesses. We were the next evolutionary step. But the synchronization attracted dangerous attention. Within months, 3 marked individuals experienced break-ins with specific items stolen, research notes, artifacts, photographs of symbols. The thefts were too precise to be random, clearly intelligence operations. In 2013, Dr. Mikhail Volkov, a Russian researcher marked during a Siberian expedition, was found dead in his Moscow apartment. Official cause: natural causes. But Mikhail was 41, healthy, and his mark had been surgically removed with medical precision. His research was completely sanitized, computers wiped, files removed, evidence erased. Someone was systematically targeting marked individuals. The hunters have found them. Those who carry the creature's legacy are being eliminated one by one. Can Nikolai protect what remains before it's too late? Subscribe to witness the final battle for ancient wisdom. We held an emergency meeting in Iceland. 27 remained after losses and withdrawals. We're being eliminated methodically, said Ana Rodriguez from Argentina. Slowly enough not to attract attention, but deliberately. Someone knows what these marks represent. Who has the resources? Asked Henrik Bergman from Sweden. Governments? Corporations? Or something we haven't considered? I touched my symbol, feeling its steady warmth. Whoever they are, they understand what we represent. They know we're connected to something they want to control or destroy, and they're willing to kill for it. We debated for hours. Some wanted to disappear completely. Others argued for going public. I advocated a third path, distributing the knowledge so widely that suppression became impossible. We spent 2 years creating redundant archives, publishing obscure papers, encoding information in formats that would survive suppression attempts. But the attacks continued. 2 more deaths in 2015. A research facility destroyed by fire in 2016. The pattern was clear: systematic erasure of marked individuals and any evidence supporting our claims. The symbol began burning with new urgency in early 2017. Not warning, but summons, pulling me towards specific coordinates. Against advice from other marked members, I followed the call back to Nepal, back toward Kanchenjunga. I found them 3 weeks into the search. A young climber, no more than 23, sitting terrified at a high camp with a fresh mark on their chest, identical to mine, but still red and raw. Thank God, they said when I approached. I thought I was losing my mind. My name is Alex Morrison. What's happening to me? I showed them my faded scar. You were marked by something most people don't believe exists. And now you're connected to knowledge and responsibility that will change your life. We need to talk, Alex. And we don't have much time. Teaching Alex was both familiar and strange, seeing my own confusion reflected in their face. watching them process experiences that defied everything they'd been taught. But Alex was sharp, unburdened by Soviet-era rigidity, capable of integrating unusual knowledge faster than I had. Within weeks, they meditated into expanded consciousness states that had taken me years. Within months, they experienced telepathic connections more clearly than I ever had. The transformation was accelerating with each generation of marked individuals, as if the changes were compounding, building on previous alterations. But Alex brought troubling news. There were people with weapons, they told me one night. Military-grade equipment, thermal imaging, something that dampened the creature's abilities. They were hunting it systematically, using tactics that suggested extensive planning. You saw this? My stomach tightened. I was climbing nearby when the creature found me, marked me, then used me as cover to escape. The hunters thought I was just a random climber, but I saw enough to know this wasn't random encounter. They're systematically hunting the remaining ones. This confirmed my worst fears. The attacks on marked individuals were connected to a larger operation targeting the creatures themselves. Someone with significant resources had decided this species needed elimination or capture. I contacted the remaining marked individuals, 23 after additional losses. We held a virtual conference, faces obscured, discussing options that range from hopeless to desperate. We need to find the remaining creatures before the hunters do, I said. Warn them, help them relocate, create confusion that slows the operations. It's risky, possibly suicidal, but doing nothing guarantees their extinction. The proposal divided the group. 15 supported intervention. 5 preferred passive preservation. 3 withdrew entirely. 2 frightened to continue. Those committed to action began gathering intelligence on hunting operations. What we discovered was chilling. The operation was funded by biotech companies and defense contractors, coordinated by private military corporations, with tacit government support. Official motivation, scientific research. Unofficial motivation, weaponizing telepathic capabilities, creating enhanced soldiers, developing interrogation techniques. The hunt had been ongoing for at least a decade, explaining the creature's increasing desperation, their willingness to mark humans despite increased visibility. They were being cornered, their extinction approaching not through natural decline, but through deliberate elimination. In August 2017, we learned of a planned operation in the Karakoram targeting one of the last known territories. The hunters had narrowed the location through satellite imaging, planning capture using tranquilizers and containment equipment. 15 of us converged on the region, posing as separate expeditions, using our marks to coordinate without electronic communication. We monitored the hunters and prepared to interfere. The hunters arrived in September with 30 personnel and sophisticated equipment. They established forward base and began systematic sweeps. We watched from concealment, our marks allowing silent coordination. And we felt the creature they hunted, its consciousness touching ours through the network, asking whether we were allies or threats. Alex, youngest and most telepathically capable, reached out. They closed their eyes, hand pressed to their mark, forming a bridge between human and creature consciousness. "We're here to help," Alex transmitted. "To interfere with hunters, give you time to escape. Trust us, we carry your marks." The response came in images and emotions, gratitude mixed with skepticism, hope tempered by experience, and profound weariness. The creature was old, tired of running, approaching the point where rest seemed preferable to endless flight. But there were young ones, Alex sensed, offspring hidden in more remote locations. The creature wasn't defending itself, it was drawing hunters away from its children, sacrificing itself to give them time. Understanding this changed everything. We weren't preventing one capture, but ensuring the next generation's survival. That required not just interference, but strategic misdirection. The operation unfolded over 3 weeks. We created false trails, planted evidence in empty areas, used limited telepathic abilities to create psychological interference that made hunters doubt their equipment and intelligence. The hunters adapted, bringing specialists to counter what they called environmental anomalies. But they were playing our game now, following patterns we created, moving further from actual important locations with each passing day. The creature showed itself twice, brief appearances that gave hunters hope but never allowed capture. It cooperated with our strategy, demonstrating intelligence and tactical thinking equal to anything humans possessed. On September 23rd, deteriorating weather forced the hunters to withdraw. They left believing they'd been close, already planning next year's return. They never knew the territory they'd searched was deliberately chosen because it was marginal, and by focusing there, they'd left crucial areas uncompromised. When the last hunter withdrew, we gathered at high altitude, 15 marked humans exhausted from 3 weeks of danger. Our marks synchronized, creating collective consciousness, and through that connection, we felt the creature's presence. It showed us the young ones, 3 juveniles hidden in a valley so remote that finding it would require impossible luck. It showed us the species' decline, 5 adults remaining, all elderly, unlikely to produce more offspring. Functionally extinct, surviving only in these last individuals and the genetic legacy of the juveniles. But it also showed us purpose. The marks we carried were seeds of transformation, information that would slowly alter marked humans' consciousness, making us more like the creatures in awareness, if not form. Over generations, changes would spread, creating humans with expanded consciousness, enhanced telepathy, fundamentally different ways of perceiving reality. We were not just witnesses. We were the hybrid future where creature wisdom lived on in human form, where their extinction was transformation rather than ending. A strategy spanning centuries, ensuring that even if physical form disappeared, essential nature persisted. The revelation inspired and terrified. We had been changed without full consent, made vectors for transformation we didn't completely understand. Some struggled with this, feeling violated. Others embraced it. Understanding evolution had never been about consent. I found peace with it. The creature had marked me in 1983, trusted me with knowledge and responsibility, seen something worthy of transformation. Whether I'd fully agreed was irrelevant. I'd been changed, and I could either resent it or honor it by living ethically with expanded consciousness. We dispersed after the operation, connected through marks and shared understanding. Alex stayed with me for months, learning what I could teach, preparing to carry knowledge forward when my generation passed. The years after 2017 brought both losses and growth. We lost 4 more marked individuals to suspicious deaths between 2018 and 2020. But we also found new ones. Young people marked by the remaining creatures in last desperate attempts to preserve knowledge before extinction. The network adapted, became more secure, distributed knowledge more widely. We published carefully worded papers, created art encoding information, taught students without revealing full truth. The transformation we carried was spreading, subtly altering human consciousness through channels no suppression could completely block. In 2021, the COVID pandemic provided unexpected cover. Physical gatherings became impossible, but virtual connection became normal. We adapted our practices, discovering that synchronized meditation worked even through video calls, that the marks network functioned regardless of physical proximity. The young ones like Alex became leaders, their enhanced capabilities allowing them to push boundaries I'd never reached. They could maintain telepathic contact over greater distances, access the collective consciousness more reliably, integrate the transformation more completely. The changes were accelerating, but so was the opposition. In 2022, a coordinated operation targeted multiple marked individuals simultaneously. Safe houses were raided, archives seized, 3 people disappeared without trace. Someone had decided to escalate, to eliminate the marked network entirely before transformation spread beyond control. We went completely underground, abandoning established identities, using protocols that would have seemed paranoid in any other context. Communication became minimal. Gatherings ceased. We became ghosts, surviving through invisibility the creatures had perfected. The symbol on my chest burned constantly now, patterns of warning and connection keeping me linked to scattered survivors. I was 70 years old, my body failing from decades of high-altitude damage, but the mark remained vital, active, fulfilling its purpose even as my physical form deteriorated. The final confrontation approaches. The marked ones face extinction, but the transformation cannot be stopped. What will emerge from this crucible? Continue to witness the conclusion of a 40-year journey. In November 2023, Alex contacted me through emergency protocols we'd established. Nikolai, something's happening. Multiple marked individuals are reporting the same thing. The symbols are changing, evolving into new patterns. And we're all being pulled toward the same location. I felt it too. The mark was burning with unprecedented intensity, displaying patterns I'd never seen, pulling me toward coordinates in the Himalaya with undeniable urgency. It's a gathering, I told Alex. All of us, drawn together, either a final stand or a final transformation. We have to go. 21 marked individuals converged on a remote valley in Nepal in December 2023, traveling through routes that avoided detection, arriving exhausted but driven by the mark's insistent summons. And there, in that hidden valley, we found them. Not the creatures, they were long dead, the last adults gone, the juveniles grown but scattered. We found their legacy, a cave system we'd never known existed, filled with knowledge preserved across millennia, waiting for enough marked humans to gather and receive it. The walls glowed with symbols that matched our marks, resonating with energy we could feel in our bones. As we entered, our symbols synchronized completely, creating collective consciousness stronger than anything we'd experienced. And the knowledge poured in, not transferred from living creatures, but downloaded from preserved consciousness. Information encoded in the cave itself through mechanisms we couldn't explain but could experience. Healing techniques, astronomical observations, meditation practices, understanding of consciousness and reality that dwarfed anything human science had discovered. We stayed in that cave for 3 days, the same length of time I'd spent in the first cave 40 years earlier, receiving, integrating, transforming. When we emerged, we were fundamentally changed, our marks now displaying new patterns that indicated completed transformation. We were no longer just marked humans. We were the hybrid form the creatures had envisioned, bridges between species, carriers of wisdom that transcended human limitation. We dispersed from that valley with new purpose. The knowledge we'd received wasn't meant to be hoarded but disseminated carefully, planted in ways that would survive any suppression attempt. We became teachers, artists, writers, scientists, each using our fields to introduce concepts that would slowly shift human consciousness toward the transformation already underway. The opposition continued, but we'd learned the creature's lesson: survival through distributed existence, invisibility through strategic visibility, persistence through patient transformation spanning generations. I am 71 now, writing this final testimony in early 2025. My body is failing. Altitude has taken its toll, but the mark remains vital, connecting me to 21 others scattered globally, to knowledge that will outlast all of us, to transformation that has already begun and cannot be stopped. The creature that marked me in 1983 has been dead for decades. Its species is extinct in physical form, but the legacy lives on in us, the marked ones, and through us in humanity itself. The changes we carry are spreading, subtle but inexorable, creating humans with expanded consciousness, enhanced empathy, deeper understanding of interconnection. This was always the creature's strategy, not to save themselves through biological reproduction, but to transcend extinction through transformation of another species. They planted seeds in human consciousness that are now bearing fruit, creating the hybrid future where their wisdom survives in new form. The mark on my chest has evolved into patterns far more complex than the original spiral. It's a living symbol now, changing with each phase of transformation, connecting me to a network that spans the globe and reaches towards something larger than any individual consciousness. I fulfilled my promise. I remembered. I told what could be told. I protected what needed protection. But more than that, I participated in transformation that makes those categories obsolete. Memory lives in the network now, not just in individuals. Truth is distributed across multiple carriers. Protection comes through strategic visibility rather than concealment. The mountains still hold secrets, but the most important ones are no longer hidden. They're encoded in the consciousness of marked individuals, spreading through our teaching and our presence, transforming humanity one person at a time toward the future the creatures envisioned. When I die, soon, probably, the mark will die with me. But what it represents will persist in Alex and the others, in the next generation already being marked by the transformation itself rather than by creatures, in the slow evolution of human consciousness towards something greater than what we were. This is my final testimony. The mark on my chest proves I stood at the threshold between species, was trusted with transformation that transcended individual survival, participated in evolution measured in centuries rather than lifetimes. The creature that marked me gave me 40 years of expanded consciousness, of connection to something vast and patient, of participation in strategy that will reshape humanity's future. I have tried to honor that gift by living ethically, teaching carefully, protecting wisely. The mountains remember, the marked remember, and the transformation continues, written not in books, but in consciousness, not in institutions, but in the networked awareness of those who carry the symbols and the wisdom they represent. When storms approach the mountains now, my mark burns with patterns that connect me not just to other marked individuals, but to something larger, collective consciousness emerging from networked minds, the hybrid future already becoming present, the wisdom of extinct creatures living on in transformed humans. This is the secret of the Himalaya, not that creatures exist or existed, but that they chose transformation over extinction, that they seeded humanity with capabilities we're only beginning to access, that the boundary between species is permeable and evolution is cooperative rather than competitive. I was marked in October 1983. I was chosen, transformed, made witness and carrier and bridge. The symbol on my chest proves it. And until my last breath, I will honor the trust placed in me, knowing that when I die, the transformation continues in others, spreading, growing, fulfilling the vision of beings who saw in humanity potential we rarely see in ourselves. Remember, tell, protect, but more than that, transform, become, transcend. The mandate evolves as we evolve, as the marks evolve, as consciousness itself expands beyond the limitations we thought were permanent. The mountains are watching. They have always been watching. And in the network of marked consciousness, ancient wisdom awakens in modern minds, creating the future the creatures died to make possible. This is my testimony. This is my truth. This is the secret carried in flesh and consciousness, written in symbols that burn with the fire of transformation, preserved in the network that connects us all. The mark endures. The transformation continues. And the mountains remember everything. Nikolai's testimony is complete, but the transformation he describes is accelerating. In marked individuals worldwide, ancient wisdom continues to awaken. The creatures may be extinct, but their legacy reshapes humanity from within, one conscious mind at a time. Thank you for bearing witness to this 40-year journey from encounter to transformation, from individual marking to networked consciousness. The secret of the Himalaya is no longer hidden. It lives in us, waiting to fully emerge in a future we are only beginning to create. Share this knowledge, honor this truth, and recognize that consciousness is always more vast, more interconnected, more extraordinary than we dare to believe. The mountains remember, the marked remember, and now you remember too.